Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, praise be to Allah, and peace be upon His Prophet Muhammad, his family, friends, and the followers until the day of judgment. Inshallah, today we are going to continue tax accounting. I very much hope to finish it today, the part of tax accounting. The part I told you that we started and we should finish it is tax on non-commercial profession. And last time we reached to the tax bracket determination. We determined the revenues, and then we explained the expenses of the cost, and when we deduct the cost of the expenses from the determination, it will give me tax or net profit before donation, and then we deduct the donation as I explained the last time. The donation for government, which should be deducted in full, provided that we shouldn't make losses, and the donation for social organization or organization societies in limit of 10% of the net profit. Then we reach to the profit after donation. Then we deduct other expenses. Other expenses, it means if we have life insurance, or if we have a system for pension, private system, if we don't have one, then we deduct it. And I mentioned that this one in the limit of maximum 3,000 a year. Then today we are going to mention some parts related to this one, and it will help us in our study to this subject. As I told you, tax year before, tax year as the law stated is a calendar year. It means the tax year should start at the 1st of January and end by the end of December. This is tax year. And if we have regular books, then we have to deduct cost on an arbitrary basis. Arbitrary basis means there is no rules for it, but it is we apply it according to the law. The law stated that if we haven't regular books, if we haven't documents, so we should deduct cost a limit of 10% of the revenues. It shouldn't exceed 10%. This is arbitrary basis of the revenues. And for the non-commercial profession who have regular books, they should not to be harmed from this rule, but if the cost is less than 10%, then they can deduct 10% also. This is for the principle of equality. Equality, the non-commercial profession or the taxpayer who have regular books and the one who haven't regular books, they should be in the same rule if they would like to benefit from this one. Then we come to the deduction of the previous year. The deduction of previous year, it means we allow the non-commercial profession who keeps regular books to carry forward losses related to one of the years to be deducted from the profit of the following year or years with the maximum limit of 5 years. For example, it is allowed to deduct the losses of 2015 from the profit of 2016 and 17 and 18 and 19. It is for 5 years. It continues for 5 years. So these losses, if it happens in 1 year, should be carried forward for consequent 5 years. Consequent 5 years. Then we come to tax exemption. Tax exemption, it is mentioned by law. The first one is it was exemption of the educational institutions, and it means the educational institutions is not taxable, but they are covered by another tax since year 2008. So it is not now exemption. It was exemption before until the year 2008, and the educational institutions should pay tax. Then we come to the next one, or revenues from authors and translations. To encourage authors and translators to do more work, then it is exempted from subject to tax. They should be subject, but they are exempted by law to encourage them to make more and more work. Also, but if this work are selling the work for visual or audio form, then it is subject to tax. This is the only exception. If the work has to be translation in a visual or an audio form. The second or the third exemption is revenues for of authorship members in the university institutions. The aim of this tax exemption is to encourage teaching staff members to prepare the scientific materials for students and to participate in the cultural movements. So, books and memos are exempted provided that they are originally printed for the distribution among students according to the regulations and prices specified by the universities and the institutions. Okay? Then the fourth one, revenues by members of some syndicate. Sculptures and graving artists. If these categories are part of the syndicate, then they are of their profit are exempted from tax. The last one, or the last exemption, is for three professionalists who are registered as active members in the professionals association in the field of their specialization. When they are graduated, they are exempted for 3 years. The 3 years exemption period shall be increased by. It means he is exempted from 3 years when he starts his professional, and also these 3 years exemption period shall be increased by these items. Number one, the training period as required by the law on the exercise of profession, like editor and accountant, should take some years as training to start as an editor or an accountant. Also, the public service period. This is for girls, and the military service period for boys. This also should increase the 3 years. And also the reserve call-up period. Reserve call-up period for some professions. This period, the reserve call-up period, should be added to these 3 years. These are the 5 exemptions mentioned by the law. Then we can start solving the problems. You have exercise, for example, page 155. This exercise includes revenues for an accountant and expenses. In this example, the revenues come separate from expenses, but sometimes I can give you the revenues numbers with the expenses number, and you should differentiate between what is revenues and what is considered an expense. But in this example, you have revenues separate from expenses, and after the revenues and expenses, you have some other information to help you in solving this problem. And this problem required you to determine the due tax of the non-commercial profession for the year 2016. And he mentioned that the taxpayer maintained a regular books. Actually, to solve this problem, as in the book, the solution, you should make a revenue and expense account for the year ended for the specific year. In this example, year ended 31st of December 2016. And then you have expenses and revenues. Then you deduct the expenses from the revenues and you reach to the net revenue. Then the first step, net revenue or net profit before donation. Then you deduct donations, either for government or for social security. Then after donation, we deduct other expenses like insurance premium and any amount paid to syndicate for pension. I just remind you, sometimes we pay amounts to syndicate. If it is for pension, it should be deducted after the revenue, after donation, and with the maximum 3,000 with the insurance premium as well, if it is there. But the amount paid to syndicate for subscriptions or for stamp or whatever, it is an expenses, should be deducted like any expense. So please make sure that the difference between the amount paid to syndicate. Then when you reach the tax bracket, you can deduct the services lies exempted by the law, and then you apply the tax rate. This is one method to solve the problem. Another method mentioned in your book in page 195, that you prepare tax declaration for the year ended according to the model of the tax authority. Then you classify the revenues according to its nature, as I explained it before, and then you have total revenues. Then you deduct costs necessary for practice of the profession. These costs should be include undocumented expenses. Then you reach to the profit before donation. Then you deduct the donation, and then you deduct other expenses, and then we reach to the tax bracket or tax base. This is how to solve the problem, and I make sure that you are able to solve the problem if you solve many exercises which are mentioned from page 162 until the end of the chapter, which are in page 218. Many exercises and problems, some are solved and some are not. You should practice and you should solve this problem as you can to be able to prepare the tax declaration and how to face problems in solving these cases. You differentiate between revenues which are related to the profession and the revenues which are not related to the profession. You shouldn't take these revenues which are not related to the profession, which you shouldn't take it into consideration. You shouldn't add it, but you add any revenues related to the profession, and also the expenses deducted should be part of the expenses to the profession. It shouldn't be personally one. If it is personally expenses, shouldn't be deducted. We shouldn't deduct any personal expense. If it is not belong to the taxpayer, it shouldn't be deducted. Okay? There are some exercises are solved. Please make sure that you understand this one, and you can do your best to solve problems and to make use of solved one, and the others which are not solved, you can try or do your best to solve it, and myself or the assistant can help you if you have any difficulty, inshallah. I'll give you some examples to help you to understand it. Exercise number 1, page 176. The following information of revenues and expenses for the year ending on the 31st of December 2008 were related to the professional accountant office. Then receipts during the year. We have receipts. It means you receive the money. And I explained before that we follow the cash basis. I mean, the money received considered as a revenue if it is belong to this year or last year's or next year's. As long as it is received, it shouldn't consider as a revenue. So this is the cash basis which we follow in the revenue of non-commercial profession. We follow the cash basis. We have the accrued basis, but this one, as I told you, if you have a contract, you can follow it. If you have a contract with somebody, like for example, if you have contract or a lease for a building or flat or whatever, and you haven't paid it yet, but in the revenues we should follow cash basis. I mean, you consider it as revenues as long as you collected it, you received it. Again, either you collect it, either it is belong to this year or last year's or next year's. It is considered as a profit. So he said his receipts during the year: 50,000 fees for designing cost system for a company in Dubai. 30 received in advance for designing a cost system in an Egyptian private company. The first item, fees for designing cost system for a company in Dubai. this is not taxable because one of the conditions that the revenue should be in Egypt, but this is in Dubai, not here. So we differentiate between if you have auditing for this company in Dubai, then you should send a team. The work is there, not in Egypt, so it's not taxable. So the revenues for the work done in Egypt, it is considered as a revenue, but the revenues for the work done abroad is not considered as a revenue. So you design a cost system for a company in Dubai. You need to study the system there, to send team or more than one to study the system by nature. So this one, the work is done outside Egypt, so it's not taxable. Then received in advance for designing a cost system in an Egyptian private company. According to the cash basis, it doesn't matter the amount I received. It is received in advance or received for this year or received for periods. It doesn't matter. So I consider it as a revenue. Then fees for auditing the accounts of some Egyptian companies in year 2007. I mean, it is for period. The amount received for the period, because we are making the tax declaration for the year 2008. But if I received money or cash for period, it is considered also as revenues. Then capital gain from selling an air condition is considered revenues as well. Then 25 fees for feasibility study, which was accomplished in 2007. This also studies have been finished and used in period. So it is also considered as a revenue. And so on. You can study each kind of fees, and you have to decide if these type of revenues related to this period or not. If it is related to this period or that period, or period or next period, then it should be considered as revenues. This is according to the cash basis. And the expenses, you have 15,000 salaries paid to assistants, salaries for November and December have not been paid yet. This, I told you, this expenses with a contract. This amount belong to 10 months. So November and December have not been paid yet. So you should pay it. You should consider the amount not paid. We call it salaries payable. This one, it is an obligation, should be paid. It is an obligation, should be paid. So should be deducted as an expense. You have 5,000 traveling expense to Dubai for delivering the cost system. Shouldn't take into consideration as long as we shouldn't take the revenues, so we shouldn't take the expense as well. So any revenues belong to abroad not considered as a revenue, and any expenses belong to abroad shouldn't be taken as an expense. And please try as much as you can, and if you have any problem, inshallah you can tell me when we meet in the face-to-face lecture. Thank you very much, and we'll complete next time, and I consider that this is the last part in the tax on revenue of non-commercial profession. And if you want more, inshallah we'll discuss it when we meet in the face-to-face lecture. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.